되게
One person can check it laptop.
아, 오케이. 맥로지. 베리류가 더 맛있을까?
I don't notice it when I'm providing. Yeah. So I guess the Kona coffee is one of the rarest coffees in the world. It is also one of the most regulated. We've got the State Department of Agriculture with their hands all over this. Now Kona is the whole western side of the island, but to legally be called Kona coffee, it must be grown within the Kona coffee belt.
커피가 이런 거지 빨간색이 되어 있는 껍질.
Coffee trees. As you can see, they can get pretty tall. And I don't know if everyone heard that the old part of the trees are actually the stumps of the trees. But these trees are all descendants of the very first coffee trees to actually make it over here to the islands. And does anybody know where coffee originates from?
Africa.
Yeah, exactly. So coffee was a thing in Europe and things like that a few hundred years before it actually made it over here. That would have been in 1823. The governor on Oahu had gotten a couple of seeds that came from Brazil. Planted those seeds out there. You just won a bet there. So he planted those seeds in the Manoa Valley, in Oahu. Seeds and cuttings from those two coffee trees spread throughout the islands and made it over to this one in 1828, and that was with the Reverend Samuel Ruggles, who brought coffee over here. For you guys to see, this is a nice healthy cherry there. So they look like coffee beans, right? Those are the seeds of the tree, so you would be able to germinate those and plant those, and that's how you would grow another coffee tree. Now they're covered in something called mucilage, and if you were to taste a raw coffee bean, it would actually taste sweet. There's a sugar content to that. Yeah, so nothing that tastes like coffee or smells like it even, that all happens in the roast room, which is like the last step before it gets in a bag. So sometimes you can get 3 beans out of a cherry, sometimes even 4, and that's pretty rare. Normally you're gonna get 2. But does anybody know what it's called when you only get 1 bean out of that cherry? Anyone want to take a guess? It was on the lineup in our samples up there. Peaberry. Yeah. So peaberries are also rare. They're only about 3 to 5% of the coffee fruit, but they were actually considered a defect and totally discarded out of the coffee that was being processed, and now the peaberry has its own category in our grading system. But any kind of coffee trees can get peaberries on them. It's when only one stamen of the coffee blossom is pollinated. So the bean forms a little differently inside of the cherry. It's going to be a little bit of a higher sugar content. And most importantly, the peaberry roasts more evenly because of its shape. It's more round, hence the name, right? The peaberry. So, yeah, if you guys didn't get a chance to try that peaberry yet, when you go back up to the shop, really take a nice slurpy sip, kind of like you were slurping ramen noodles. That's the best way to get, it cools the coffee down, but especially with the peaberry, that's going to allow you to taste the sweetness. And it's very delicate. It's almost tea-like. So do that when we get back. Again, basically, we're squeezing those beans out of the cherry. So we're going to go to the other end of the mill here and check out. I'm going to point out what has to happen first, and that would be pulping the cherries. So this is the mechanical pulper here. And I know you can't see from this angle, but those 2 inch is greater. Very nice. Like I said, these are where we get our private ones. I don't know if you guys all tried that up there at the shop, but that's one of my favorites. It's like one of our top selling estate coffees. It's really, really good. Now, this is where you can see, and you can get closer if you'd like, everything's kind of happening all at once with these. Lots of green cherries that are nice and big, and they're going to turn soon. We're also, like, as we move down, you'll see some red ones already. And then we have some brand new cherries just starting to form. You might even see some coffee blossoms. Take 1,000-pound bags, like those big white ones there. Those get lined with plastic bags inside, and then the bag gets hooked into that frame right behind you guys. Parchment comes out from above. Once those bags fill up, they're going to get their tags, their paperwork. They're going to get forklifted to our warehouse, really, really close by. They're going to sit in there for about 2 months. This is called reposing or resting. So by sitting in the warehouse for 2 months, the moisture level inside of that bag is going to evenly distribute and level out with all the little beans inside of there. So it's a pretty big chunk on the timeline, but it's an important part of the process, right? So after 2 months or so in the warehouse, now it's time for the dry mill. So it'll get forklifted down to the dry mill, which is the very last building all the way on the left side of our driveway. You can kind of see it from the gift shop. There's a bunch of pallets right outside of it. And parchment kind of gets its name from this really thick, papery, very parchment-like skin that has come to surround the coffee bean. So the huller is going to pull all of that skin off, and then underneath that, resting right on the bean, is going to be the silver skin, and that's a little lighter and flakier. So all of that gets polished away until we are left with green beans. So green bean coffee is finished coffee. Then you can roast it at that point and then kind of call it a day. But before our beans make it up to our roast room, now we're going to have to sort them over a screen sorter, and that's going to separate them into our 6 different sizes or categories that we have for our coffee. And we're doing that so we can get a nice uniform roast when we roast it. The beans are all the same size, they're going to roast evenly, right? So the screen sorter is 6 layered screens with different size holes in each one that just get progressively smaller going down. So at the largest, we've got extra fancy and fancy, the number 1, select, the pea berry gets its own category, and then we've got prime. So after that, now it's time for the gravity table, and that's going to separate all of the heavier beans away from the lighter beans, which we don't want because they might have holes in them from bug damage or be cracked or something, right? So the way the gravity table works is that it's kind of at an angle like this. It's got little ridges going down and it vibrates. So what happens is that the heavier beans stay in one place and the lighter beans bounce away. The final sorting machine is the optical sorter. And the one we have uses AI technology to visually identify any defective beans that we want sorted out of our coffee. So by defective, we're talking shape deformities and discoloration. So there really are just tons of images of defective beans in the computer of the machine. It scans the coffee at 1,300 images per second, and the little puffs of air knock those rejects out of the way. Take the young green berry and we'll just dehydrate the whole thing, and that's where we get our black peppercorn. And then the berries mature and they turn red and they have a pit inside at that point. So we'll take the pit and dehydrate that, and that's where we actually get white peppercorn.
진짜 콘같이 생겼네.
Right, they're a little bit less sweet, a little bit more tangy, and definitely a little more firm. It's kind of like a green apple-ish taste. So bananas grow out of a root system. They're part of this rock family. So they grow really fast, but once stalk, longer, that weird tail will grow out. The coffee trees we were just looking at, right? So those are Liberica coffee trees, and they're part of the Robusta family. And we are only growing those to use for seed stock for the trees that we're going to graft with. So those Liberica trees give us the seeds that we grow for rootstock for the trees, our grafted trees. Technique and style of how the coffee was kind of processed here, actually.
So did they invent or
I'm not sure if they invented the Hoshidana for coffee. That's a great question. I'm just not sure.
넌안 돼, 넌 불합격이야.
절 정도 가는 것 같아요.
그런 거 있으면 어쩌지?
오늘 경치가 보고.
이거 먹을래?
수영이 이거 먹을 거야?
이거 먹을래? 이거 먹을래?
둘 다 먹어봐.
이거?
아 이렇게 생긴 걸.
안 보여? 용암이 흘러 넘치는 거?
오!
봐봐.
오! 줌 해볼까? 그게
그쵸? 우와. 이게 다 용암이 흘러서 이렇게 된 거잖아. 점점 보이지? 실제로 여기 그게 떨어졌나?
엄마, 우리 어디 가도?
아니?
빨리 돌아가자.
아니 거기 볼까 했어.
빼는 거야, 숨는 거야?
이런 것도 여기저기하다 집에서 만들 수 있겠다.
수원이 그림 잘 그리네.
Nice drinks. They have a dragon fruit cider on tap.
케이스도 야구방에서 무지개 진짜 없다고.
사람이 한 명 있는 게 진짜 모든 가족들에게 도움이 많이 되는 것 같긴 해. 소은이가 이리 오고 소은이 이모랑 이렇게 삼촌 앉으랄까?
지금 와